Hi, I'm Zoe Waring, and today I'll be talking about the SciFest curriculum guide. And the partners I worked with were Dr. Peter Sheldon, Dr. Peggy Schimler, and Jennifer Williams. So today I'll be talking about what SciFest is and how it relates to the research that we conducted in the summer of 2020, and then talk about the summarizing activities in SciFest, creating a curriculum guide and lesson plans, researching ways to assess the curriculum guide and science outreach, COVID's effects on the project, and where the project will go in the future. SciFest began in 2005, and it was first for the ages 3 years old until middle school, and then became a full-blown festival in 2009, and it's all about STEM and hands-on learning. The activities in SciFest 2020, even though some of them got messed up due to COVID-19, were Pi Run, which is a 3.14-mile run that goes in front of Randolph College campus and is free to sign up, and they get a t-shirt and a pie afterwards. Then there's the keynote speaker who had the book, The Physics of Superheroes, which talks about physics of a superhero, if their powers are even able to happen in the real world, and if it is applicable. There's the Women in Science panel, which are women alums from Randolph College that speak to the public and students about what it's like being a woman in science. The poetry competition is K through 12 schoolers who admit a poetry style of any type as long as it has something to do with STEM, and then Randolph judges them and selects winners. A Scientist Goes to the Movies is where a movie is played and then the science behind the movie is discussed. Science Day and Little Scientists is that day that gears towards those age groups 3 years old to middle school with hands-on scientific activities. Maker Faire and Science Sunday do the same thing, but Science Sunday is put on by the students and faculty and professors that do hands-on learning. And then Maker Faire does this, but it's a community-funded and organized activity that was sponsored by Vector Space this year. And then first, LEGO League Junior Expo is about LEGO robotics. Our curriculum guide was a description of activities, and the activities were the ones based off of 2020 SciFest. Then the lesson plans based on those activities, then all of that connected to the science standards of learning. So the first thing we did was we summarized the events of SciFest, which we filled in already known activities, and if we didn't know the information that needed to be with those activities, such as materials or guidelines, we contacted those leaders about their activity to get more descriptions, so we were able to create lesson plans later on. We didn't create lesson plans for every single activity, though, because we wanted teachers to be able to take the idea of the lesson and the activity and adapt it to the best way their classroom would benefit from it. When we first began creating our curriculum guide, I researched the SOLs, which are the Virginia Standards of Learning, and Jennifer Williams helped me research the NGSS, which are the Next Generation Science Standards, which is the national standard. So I read about a bunch of different SOLs, basically all the ones for math and science for a bunch of grade levels, and I even did for English as well, because the poetry competition can relate to both English and to science. Then we related these activities that we found to the SOLs. As you can see below, like the paper pie plates for the kindergarten, you can't exactly run 3.14 miles, but you can still talk about pi, and that's how creating and finding new activities relates to this too, because it relates to SciFest and then it relates to the SOLs and the NGSS. So when we were creating our lesson plans, we were thinking about what would be the best way to outline it, and to the right is a blank version of one of our lesson plans, and we used VDOE, which is the Virginia Department of Education, and Dr. Peggy Schimler's, and we put them together for what we believed our needs needed. And then these were based on the activities created, and they related to the SOLs and the NGSS. So we would put in the strands, say English or chemistry or physics, and then what the topic was about, so what the lesson would be teaching. then the SOLs, the NGSS, background information on it, and what was needed for it. So a large part of the research I needed to do this summer was research how to assess the curriculum guide and the science outreach from it. And I read a lot of scientific journals and did a lot of library research. And what I came up with was having a pre-assessment and a post-assessment. So the pre-assessment would be before one of the activities or one of the lesson plans in the curriculum guide, and then taking a post-assessment and seeing how the students understood the information afterwards. Another thing would be to compare it to another class. So one class would have the curriculum guide or an activity, and then the other class wouldn't. And you would compare those post assessments to those two classes to see which class understood the material better. And then the other thing that could happen was a teacher survey with teachers that participated with the SciFest curriculum guide. And some of the questions that could be in it were did the students enjoy the activity? Was the activity relatable to things that you're learning? Was it easily done in the classroom? And did the students better understand the information after the activity was finished? So COVID's effect was there was no in-person meetings, which we wanted to plan with principals and teachers and science specialists to get their ideas and their beliefs on how this system would work better. There was hesitation by public schools because they didn't have a plan for the fall, and it's hard to implement something they've never done before when they didn't even have a solid plan for what their daily schooling would look like. And then lastly, SciFest was canceled. A lot of it was moved online with a lot of online demonstrations, but the speaker was canceled and the Women in Science panel wasn't in person anymore. So a lot of things were different. So just to reiterate what I worked on in this summer research program for creating the SciFest curriculum guide, I created activities, filled out the curriculum guide and lesson plans, I researched the SOLs, summarized SciFest activities, and researched ways to assess this program. So the program in the future is not just a summer research program. It is supposed to be a 1 to 2 year project that assesses many students in different schools and hopefully can show that hands-on scientific activities help students learn better. And then we started setting up meetings with principals and teachers to get their input and their ideas about how this guide could be distributed and helping the students. And then distributing the curriculum guide is the big goal in the fall to different types of schools to start assessing this project. And then Dr. Sheldon got grants to make this whole guide and all the lesson plans into a hard copy. And what my group started to talk about is creating a website that's almost like a database where different teachers who had their own lesson plans created from these activities can upload those lesson plans. So if they picked an activity from the curriculum guide that didn't have a lesson plan and they created a lesson plan, they could upload that plan onto the website so other teachers could use. So this website would be a continuously growing database. And then focus grouping with teachers is a huge goal in the spring to get their ideas and inputs on how this project and the guide could expand into the future and become even better. And here are some of my references. Thank you for listening.